Hello everyone, Ron here from L.T.L Tutoring Central. And is it not amazing? What is he talking about? Well, sometimes it's hard to know, but I do know. I'm talking a little bit on the personal level and a little bit on the education or business side as well this week. And I just find it really amazing that we can learn and teach in so many ways nowadays with all of the technology that is available. For example, I just finished teaching a series of lessons to an adult student who lives in Japan but was traveling in Australia. And of course, I live in Canada. So I'm teaching, she's learning, and of course, I'm learning from her too. As you know, I always go on and on about all of us should be learners and teachers for the rest of our lives. But we're doing this across these vast geographic distances. And a while ago, I taught 3 younger Chinese students in China, and of course, I'm in Canada still, and they were just learning English. So that was a totally different level of teaching and learning, and we got to use different platforms and different technology, but we can see one another, we can talk to one another just almost as if we're in the same room. We can share the screen. They could write on the screen. I can write on the screen. We can show each other pictures. We can show each other videos. We can make annotations. If you're doing mathematics online as well, which I've also done, you can draw, although I'm not very good at using my tablet, but you can draw and you can reveal, just as I do on the scrap paper when I'm doing math with students behind me. And sometimes I use scrap paper for English as well to show a sentence structure or some rule in English. You can do that online on a whiteboard. So there are so many things you can do. Sometimes it's overwhelming, and I think for both learners and teachers, you can get a little bit afraid of technology and sort of say, no, I don't want to go there. And I can understand that, because sometimes I get a little afraid of it too, only because there's so much of it, and it can be overwhelming. However, here's the trick. Use what works for you and for your students, and it doesn't have to be a lot of technology. It can be a couple of platforms, a couple of sites that you enjoy and that they enjoy. You don't have to use everything that's available out there. I don't even think that would be possible, because there's so many things now. However, you want to use what works for you, and you don't have to throw the old out to have the new. I think that sometimes happens, and sometimes learners only, especially young ones, only want the technology, only want the bells and whistles and the flashing pictures. And sometimes that's just a distraction. Sometimes technology can be a distraction, but it can also be a really good tool. But that's all it is. It's a tool. The learning still has to happen. All of the methods that you used in the past, if you're a teacher or if you're a learner, you can use those same methods online, almost exactly the same as you would in person these days. So I'm a firm believer that we don't have to throw everything out and bring everything new just because it's new. That doesn't make sense to me. What does make sense is looking at what's available, what kind of platforms and programs are available that might accentuate or add to the tutoring that I already do, or the teaching. And so for the students who come here and sit at the long table behind me, I can introduce some technology for them, and they can sometimes use the computer or laptop, and we can use the technology. Most of the time we end up not using it that much, because we're so used to doing it on paper now. But if they're at home, or if I'm doing a student from across the world, of course, we can do almost the same things online. So don't be afraid of technology, and don't just use the technology. Make sure that you're able to write on paper. Make sure that you're able to read a real book, as well as all of the wonderful things that you can do online through the internet and on different websites, etc. So that's what I think is so amazing. So the answer to the question is yes, it is amazing. It's amazing that I can teach students in Japan, Australia, China, the United States, all over the world, And it's amazing that learners, and I can also learn from instructors, and I have learned from instructors. I've taken courses from other countries as well. Sometimes I don't know where they're from, but I'm taking the course and it's been done somewhere else. So jump into learning. That's what's so important. There's so many choices, and maybe that's a bit overwhelming, but don't worry about it. Look around, check it out, check out the instructor, see if you feel like you'd be a good fit. I always think if they don't answer you, that might not be a good fit. That's the one other thing I wanted to mention before I leave. There are lots of places you can learn online where you're simply answering questions to basically a program or a machine, and you're not really getting any contact with a person. That's okay for some things. That works fine. That works great. You can watch a video too and teach yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. But I also think, for me, I like to teach my students and I like to have some contact with them. And I think for many learners, they like that as well. I know that some of the students I have learning to write paragraphs or essays or just English in general, they like that personal touch and that personal feedback, because sometimes the program just doesn't do it for them, or they get all the questions right, but then when they write their own paragraph, there are still multiple problems with it, and the program doesn't address that. A person like me, a real teacher, a real person, can look at all the difficulties and weak areas and help you to overcome them. So check out your instructor, see if he or she is going to be a good fit for you, and just jump in and try it out anyways. I mean, there's so many possibilities out there. So that's it for me. Yes, I think it's really amazing. I want you to learn as much as you can. If you have any questions, you can ask them below. You can also go to the website. I'll put a link below and send me your questions or comments from there. I will put a link below to the blog as well, which is also talking about this, but maybe a little bit differently. And in the meantime, have an amazing week. Keep learning and keep having fun, and maybe try out a new platform or some new technology just to see how it works. If you're having any problems or have any questions, you can ask me. I may not know the answer, but then again, I might. So I love to hear from people. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video if you like it, and keep learning, keep having fun. It's Ron from L.T.L Tutoring Central, and I'll see you again next week.